Let's have a closer look at the RBA section, or the rebuildable section, for the TF-V12 Prince sub-ohm tank by Smoke. Going to come in this little plastic box, and inside the box is going to be your RBA section. Now they will have a dual coil already pre-installed. That's going to ohm out to a 0.25. They're going to toss in some Japanese organic cotton. You're going to get an Allen key, some extra post screws, and an O-ring. Here's a closer look at the pre-installed coils. Once again, they ohm out to a 0.25, 3mm inner diameter, and as you can see, they are spaced coils. And the build we're going to do is actually going to be much different, a much smaller coil. I'm going to try something out, and we're going to experiment a little bit, but yeah, there's the pre-made coils you get. And if you guys want a closer look at the RBA section before we toss a build on it, there it is, just your typical stainless steel build section. There's going to be your juice ports. And if we unscrew this, we have a 17mm build deck. Just a standard velocity style post, 2mm post holes, Allen screws in the post, and that large air hole in the center, measuring 12mm by 5mm. Now before we toss a build on here, I just recommend taking your screwdriver and just confirming and assuring that the negative and the positives are tight. I've had no issues with this particular RBA section, but there have been a few in the past where they sometimes arrive loose. So you just want to make sure everything is tight on there before you start building on it. Everything appears to be nice and tight. So got my TF-V12 Prince base. We're going to screw that down in here. Now I'm going to be using the staggered fused Claptons from Coilology. Now these are usually 3mm in inner diameter, but I actually shrunk them down to 2mm, and I added an extra wrap. And the reason for adding the extra wrap is when I build on the velocity style post, I like to have the leads perfectly line up with the post holes, so that way the coil isn't too short and I have to bend the leads or the coil's too long. So adding an extra wrap, the leads line up perfectly with the post. A little trick for the newer builders out there, if you guys use pre-made coils like I do, usually the pre-made coils come in 3mm or 2.5, and if you want to make the coil larger or smaller, it's really easy to do it. Just take your coiling rod, and if you're going to make the coil larger, just bend the leads out like so as you screw your coiling rod down, and you can make the coil larger and you can add an extra wrap. Now if you want to make the coil much smaller like I did in this particular instance, we're going to drop it down to 2mm. Just drop it down to the very bottom, grab a pair of pliers, and all you need to do is just give a tug on one of the leads, pull it real tight, and then do the opposite one, and now you have a 2mm coil. Now remember, doing this will change the resistance, if I didn't already mention that, but yeah, just a little trick for the newer builders out there. Alright, so I got my coils already ready to go, and we're going to attempt to slide these in. This is why I hate doing builds on camera, because my camera is positioned in a way that makes trying to do something like this impossible, but I'm going to do my best here. I think I got it. Did I get it? Whoa, I got it. Alright, let's slide that in there. And let's grab the little Allen key and let's tighten this down. Now we can clip the leads. Now what you can do if you want to make things a little bit easier is you can install your coil, don't screw it down, clip the leads, and then that way you can match up the other coil and know exactly where to clip the leads at, and then you can mount it and screw it down, so that way you avoid having to try to fit your cutters in here, especially when you get that second coil in here. It's going to be really hard to cut these leads, so you might want to pre-cut them, but I usually do it like this, and then the second coil I install, I pre-cut. So we got the coils installed, and I got them pretty straight. I'm going to try to do a compressed coil. I don't want to really do a spaced coil, and I'm going to take my tweezers, and I just like to gap the coil to know how far to push it down. I could probably push it a little bit lower, but I'm going to try right about there. And then all we need to do is just get rid of any hot spots in the coil. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few hot spots in here. Yes, there is. Just take the back side of your tweezers and just scrape the coils. Scrape a few times on one side, scrape on the other, and then just pulse it again, and just keep continuing that until you get rid of all the hot spots. If you want to do space coils, you can go ahead and leave it space, but I just prefer a compressed coil, that's all. Alright, much better. Go on this side, repeat the process. So once the coils are all set up and ready to go, what I sometimes do is I take my chimney cap and I'll screw it on the top, just to confirm that the coil isn't touching anywhere. So when I go to fire it, you'll see the coil is not going to short out. So we're good there. Now I got some cotton I cut off camera, and we're just pretty much going to wick it up. So I got it all wicked up. Now we're going to take our needle tip tweezers and we're going to brush the ends of the cotton so that way we could thin out the cotton a little bit, so that way it fits into the wicking channels and you don't have to stuff the cotton in there, because if you stuff it in or pack it in too tight, the juice is not going to absorb into the cotton and you're going to get a dry hit. So you want to make sure the cotton goes in those channels pretty easily, but not too easy to where it's going to flood. You kind of want a happy medium between the two. Now once you cut it, you want to pretty much figure out how much wick you got to cut off, and the only way to do that is kind of just to kind of eyeball it. So I'm going to tuck these wicks down into the channel. I think this side might be perfect, but the other side might need a little trimming. And all you're going to do is just take your tool, your screwdriver, whatever, and just gently tuck the cotton down into the channel. Now that you have it all wicked up, go ahead and grab your juice of choice and just put a few drops on the cotton, so that way if you need to adjust the cotton a little bit more, you can do so. So go ahead and prime it a little bit, and you'll see all the little frayed ends, here we go, of the cotton. They kind of need a little bit of adjusting, so we're going to do that. But let's moisten it up just a little bit. So that looks pretty good right there. So go ahead and prime your coils up. If you want to pulse it a little bit, you can, but I'm not going to do it because I'm sitting right in front of my camera. But go ahead and prime it up. Also, if you want, you could take your needle-tipped tweezers and you could place it on the side right here, and you can kind of try to fluff the cotton out a little bit more if you like. If you notice it's kind of packed a little bit in there, go ahead and take your tweezers. You can go inside there and just fluff it, so that way the juice absorbs pretty quickly into the cotton. Go ahead and grab the chimney cap, and we'll screw that down into place. There we go. Tighten that down. Grab your tank section. Screw it into place. What's the problem here? It's not screwing down. I don't like this. I'm not going to screw the RBA section to the cap first, because that's not how you do it. What's the problem here? Come on, what is this? Seriously? Are the threads matching up with this? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's got to go pretty deep inside there. I see what's going on. All right, so with that said, let's loosen this up pretty loose. About right there. And this cap actually has to go down there pretty deep before it'll screw into place. Hopefully that did it. Oh, come on, did it? Yeah, that did it. Great. All right, now that we're screwed down and I got juice all over me, we could pop the cap on this and we could fill her up. Got it all filled up, and that's pretty much going to be it, guys, for the up close and personal with the new RBA section for the Prince.